Don't even think about coming to the wedding, my parents snapped. You'll ruin the photos. Jessica deserves better in her background. I just smiled, transferred the honeymoon fund back into my account, and sent her a screenshot. That was just step one. They still have no idea. I own the venue they've been bragging about for months. Long post ahead, but trust me, it's worth the read. TL.dr at the bottom for the impatient folks. Hey Reddit, this happened over the past few months and I'm still processing everything. I've been lurking here for years but never posted my own story until now. My friends keep telling me I need to share this because apparently it's legendary level petty revenge. You be the judge. Some background. I 29 male, and I work in commercial real estate development. I've been pretty successful over the past 7 years. Not rich by any means, but comfortable enough to own a nice apartment downtown and drive a paid-off truck. More importantly for this story, I've been smart about investing my money instead of just letting it sit in savings accounts. I'm the oldest of 3 siblings. There's my sister Jessica, 26 female, who's been the family princess since birth, and my younger brother Tyler, 23 male, who works construction and is honestly the only normal person in our family. From the outside, we probably look like a typical middle-class family, but the reality is I've been everyone's personal ATM for almost a decade. Let me paint you a picture of Jessica because she's central to this whole mess. She's one of those Instagram influencers with about 8,000 followers who genuinely believes she's destined for fame and fortune. She posts lifestyle content, fashion photos, and motivational quotes about living your best life, all funded by money she doesn't actually have. She's never held a steady job for more than 6 months because she's always working on her brand or networking with potential collaborators. The pattern with Jessica has been the same for years. She gets into some crisis, usually financial, and calls me crying about how desperate she is. Being the responsible older brother, I always bail her out thinking maybe this time she'll learn and grow up. Spoiler alert, she never did. Some examples of my brotherly support over the years. When she totaled her BMW that I co-signed for because her credit was terrible, while texting and driving, instead of dealing with insurance like a normal person, she begged me to handle everything quietly so it wouldn't damage her image. I ended up paying $12,000 out of pocket to get her car fixed and another $3,000 to an attorney to keep it off her record. Her response? Thanks, Ryan. You're the best. I'll totally pay you back someday. When she had to move out of her ex-boyfriend's place because he caught her cheating, did she find a reasonable apartment within her means? Of course not. She found this expensive place in the trendy part of town and called me sobbing about being homeless and needing help. I paid 4 months of her rent, $6,800 total, while she got back on her feet. Again, no real thank you, just, that's what big brothers are for, right? When she needed money for her content creation business, buying expensive clothes and props for Instagram photos, who did she call? When her credit cards got maxed out from her shopping addiction, who helped her out? When she needed a new laptop, new camera equipment, or money for networking events that were really just expensive brunches with other wannabe influencers, you guessed it. I estimate I've spent somewhere around $35,000 on Jessica over the past 8 years. And not once, has she paid me back a single dollar or even acknowledged the sacrifice I was making for her dreams. But I kept doing it because she's my sister, and I genuinely wanted her to succeed. I thought maybe if I kept supporting her, she'd eventually find her footing and become the person I knew she could be. I also thought she'd appreciate what I was doing, and we'd grow closer as siblings. Boy, was I wrong about that. About 10 months ago, Jessica started dating this guy named Derek. He's 31, works as a financial advisor at some small firm, drives a leased Porsche, and has that slick salesman vibe that immediately made me suspicious. But Jessica was head over heels because Derek appeared to have money, which is basically her only requirement in a partner. She started posting these cringy couple photos constantly. Derek in his designer polo shirts and boat shoes, Jessica in outfits that cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Captions like, "Found my king," and "Living my best life with my CEO babe." He wasn't a CEO, but whatever. The whole relationship felt performative, like they were both playing roles for social media rather than actually connecting as people. I tried to be supportive because I wanted Jessica to be happy, but something felt off about Derek from day one. He had this way of talking about money and success that reminded me of those get-rich-quick seminar guys, always mentioning his investment portfolio and business ventures, but never giving specific details about what he actually did for work. Then in December, Derek proposed. Big flashy proposal at an expensive restaurant downtown, complete with a photographer hiding in the bushes to capture every moment. Jessica posted about it for weeks straight, I said yes to forever, and can't wait to be Mrs. Richardson. The engagement ring alone probably cost more than Derek makes in 3 months, which should have been my first red flag about their financial situation. When I texted Jessica congratulations and offered to help with wedding planning however I could, her immediate response was, "Thanks, bro. Actually, we could definitely use help with some of the costs." Not, "Thank you for the kind offer," or "I'm so excited to celebrate with you." Just straight to asking for money. But I figured this was her wedding, probably the most important day of her life. So I should do something special. I told her I'd cover their honeymoon as my gift to them. She got super excited and started showing me these ridiculous resort packages in Bali, the Maldives, and Costa Rica. They eventually settled on this $8,500 luxury package at some five-star resort in Costa Rica. Private villa, couple spa treatments, a personal chef, the whole Instagram fantasy. I set up a separate account and transferred the money, thinking this would be a meaningful way to celebrate their new marriage and show Jessica how much I cared about her happiness. Her reaction when I told her about the gift? "Thanks, Ryan, you're amazing. Derek's going to be so impressed that I have such a generous family." Not, "I'm grateful for this incredible gift." Not, "This means so much to me that you do this for us." Just that Derek would be impressed by my generosity. Like I was some kind of prop in their relationship, rather than her brother trying to do something nice for her wedding. But the real problem started when they began planning the actual ceremony and reception. Jessica went full bridezilla from the moment they got engaged. She started talking about wanting a luxury wedding experience with at least 200 guests, live entertainment, premium everything. Keep in mind that neither she nor Derek had any real income. She was still playing Instagram influencer, and he was working at a small financial planning firm, making maybe $60,000 a year. When I asked how they planned to afford such an elaborate celebration, Jessica just laughed and said, "Derek's handling the finances," with this smug smile. Then she added, "Plus, we know we can count on family to help make our dream day happen." There it was. She wasn't just expecting me to pay for the honeymoon. She was planning on me funding the entire wedding. Over the next few months, Jessica posted constantly about wedding planning. Dress shopping, venue tours, cake tastings, flower arrangements. All the typical bride stuff, but amplified to ridiculous levels. She was acting like she was planning a celebrity wedding instead of a normal person's ceremony. Then one day she posted about booking their venue, Sunset Manor. The name hit me like a freight train because Sunset Manor was a property that my business partner Frank and I had purchased and renovated over the past 18 months. Let me back up and explain this crucial detail. About 2 years ago, I partnered with my friend Frank to invest in distressed commercial real estate. Frank owns several restaurants and had been looking for ways to diversify his investments. We decided to pool our money and buy properties that had been hit hard during the economic downturn, specifically event venues and wedding halls that were selling for way below market value. One of our first purchases was Sunset Manor, this beautiful wedding venue with gardens, a ballroom, and lakefront views. The previous owners had gone bankrupt, and we got it for about 60% of its actual worth. We spent 6 months and a considerable amount of money renovating it into one of the premier wedding destinations in the area. I had never mentioned this investment to my family. Why would I? They already saw me as their personal bank, and I didn't need Jessica trying to get free venue rentals for her friends or expecting special treatment. But there she was on Instagram, posting photos of her venue with captions like, "Found our perfect location." Derek surprised me by booking the most exclusive place in the city. She had no idea that her big brother was one of the owners of her dream wedding venue. I immediately checked our booking system and found the reservation. Richardson Wedding, May 18th, premium package for 200 guests, total cost $28,000. But here's the concerning part. They had made the initial booking, but hadn't paid the required deposit. Our standard policy requires a 50% deposit within 2 weeks of booking to hold any date. It had been 3 weeks, and we hadn't received a payment. I assumed Derek was handling it and would send the money soon, but I made a mental note to keep an eye on the situation. That's when Jessica called me with the request that changed everything. It was a Thursday evening, and I had just gotten home from work when Jessica called. I could tell from her tone that she wanted something big. "Ryan, we need to talk about the wedding." "Okay, what's up?" "So Derek and I have been going over all the costs, and we've realized we're going to need more family support than we originally thought." Here we go, I thought. What kind of support? Well, the venue ended up being more expensive than we planned, and with all the other vendors. We were hoping maybe you could help us with some of the major expenses. I took a deep breath. "Jessica, I'm already paying $8,500 for your honeymoon. That's a pretty substantial gift." "I know, and we totally appreciate that. But this is a once-in-a-lifetime event, Ryan. And you're doing so well with your real estate investments. We just need maybe like $15,000 to make everything perfect. $15,000. On top of the honeymoon. She wanted me to spend over $23,000 on her wedding to someone I barely knew. Jess, that's a lot of money. Have you and Derek considered maybe scaling back some of the expenses? That's when her voice changed completely. Scale back? Ryan, this is my wedding, the most important day of my life. I'm not going to have some cheap, embarrassing ceremony because you don't want to help your only sister. It's not about not wanting to help. Really? Because it sounds like you don't care about me at all. Derek's family is contributing. Why can't mine? I am contributing. I'm paying for your entire honeymoon. That's different. That's just a gift. This is about showing up for family when it matters most. I was getting frustrated now. Jessica, I've been showing up financially for years. The car payments, the rent money, the credit card debt, all those times you needed cash for your business ventures. I've probably spent $30,000 supporting you over the past few years. That's what family does, Ryan. And now when I need you most for the biggest day of my life, you're going to abandon me. Then she said the words that changed our relationship forever. You know what? Fine. If you don't want to help, Derek and I will figure it out ourselves. But don't expect to be in any of the wedding photos. We only want pictures with people who actually supported us during this special time. I was stunned into silence for a moment. Are you seriously telling me I can't be in my own sister's wedding photos because I won't give you $15,000? I'm not saying you can't come to the wedding, Ryan. Just that we want our photos to reflect the people who were really there for us when it mattered. That's when I heard Derek's voice in the background. Tell him he can still cover the bar costs if he wants to contribute something. And that was the moment something inside me snapped. Not with anger, but with a cold, clear understanding of exactly what my relationship with Jessica really was. I wasn't her brother. I was her ATM. And when the ATM said no, I became disposable. I hung up without saying another word and sat in my apartment staring at the wall for about 20 minutes, processing what had just happened. My own sister had essentially told me I wasn't good enough to be in her wedding photos unless I paid for the privilege. Like I was some kind of vendor rather than family. I called Frank and told him the whole story. After a few minutes of shocked silence, he started laughing. Ryan, my friend, do you realize what you just told me? That my sister is completely entitled and selfish? No, you just told me that the people who want to book our venue are treating you like garbage and they haven't paid their deposit. It took a second for it to click. Oh man. Oh man is right. Dude, they haven't paid us a single dollar for that booking. According to our contract, if they don't submit the deposit within 30 days of booking, the date gets automatically released. I started doing the math in my head. How long has it been? Let me check our system. It's been 25 days. They have exactly 5 days left or we cancel the booking per our standard contract. Frank, they have no idea I'm an owner of that venue. Even better. So what do you want to do? I thought about it for a moment. Let's follow our contract exactly as written. If they don't pay by the deadline, we release the date. No exceptions, no special treatment. You sure about this? It's your sister's wedding. She made it very clear that I'm not really welcome unless I pay for the privilege. So let's treat this like any other business transaction. Over the next couple of days, I decided to do some research into Derek's actual financial situation. One of the advantages of working in commercial real estate is that you learn how to investigate people's finances for due diligence purposes. What I discovered was fascinating. Derek wasn't nearly as successful as he pretended to be. His LinkedIn said he was a senior investment advisor, but the company he worked for had maybe 12 employees total. Based on industry standards, his salary was probably around $55,000, not the six-figure income Jessica thought he was making. More interesting was his debt situation. Car loans, credit cards, student loans. The guy was leveraged to the eyeballs. But the real kicker was when I found out through mutual connections that Derek had been telling people he was paying for this elaborate wedding with gains from his cryptocurrency investments. Complete nonsense. The guy was broke and had been planning from the beginning to guilt me into funding their entire wedding. Meanwhile, Jessica kept texting me. Day 1. Hey, have you thought more about helping with the wedding costs? Derek really wants to get everything finalized soon. Day 2. Ryan, I'm starting to stress about getting all our vendors locked in. Can you maybe help us with the venue deposit and Derek can pay you back after we get some other things sorted out? Day 3. Seriously, Ryan, I need to know if you're going to help or not. This is really important to me. I didn't respond to any of them. Finally, she texted, Fine, whatever. Derek and I will handle everything ourselves. Don't expect any special treatment at the wedding. Perfect. She had just given me all the justification I needed. The next few days were surprisingly peaceful. No constant phone calls asking for money. No emergency crises that needed my immediate financial intervention. No guilt trips about family obligations. For the first time in years, I could focus on my own life without constantly managing Jessica's disasters. Frank and I met for lunch on Wednesday to discuss some other business matters, but obviously the Jessica situation came up. So they've got 2 days left to make their deposit, Frank said with a grin. Any word from the princess? Nothing. I think she's convinced Derek is handling all the payments. And Derek thinks, based on what I can tell, Derek thinks I'm going to cave at the last minute and pay for everything. Classic manipulation. Create a crisis and wait for the responsible person to fix it. Frank shook his head. You know what we should do? We should make backup plans for that date, just in case. What kind of backup plans? My cousin Raphael is getting married in June, and they've been looking for a venue. What if I told them May 18th just became available? I couldn't help but smile. Frank, you're devious. I'm practical. Look, if your sister and her broke fiancé want to play games, they can deal with the consequences. But we've got a business to run. That evening, I got a call from Tyler, my younger brother. He's the only family member who's never asked me for money and actually treats me like a person instead of a walking checkbook. Dude, Jessica's been calling me all day asking if I can loan her money for some wedding deposit. How much? $14,000. She says it's an emergency and she'll pay me back within a few months. I nearly choked on my dinner. Tyler, please tell me you didn't. Heck no, I don't have that kind of money, and even if I did, I know she'd never pay it back. But she sounded pretty desperate on the phone. Kept saying Derek's money was tied up in investments, and they just needed a short-term loan. What did you tell her? That I'm not a bank. She got mad and hung up on me. So they were scrambling now. Good. Friday morning, exactly 24 hours before the deadline, I got a voicemail from an unknown number. It was Derek. Hey Ryan, it's Derek. Listen, I know there was some tension with Jessica the other day, but I wanted to reach out man to man. We're having a small issue with our venue deposit. Just a timing thing with some of my investments liquidating. I was wondering if you might be able to help us out with a short-term loan? Just until Monday, then I can pay you back with interest. Give me a call. I deleted the message without calling back. Friday evening, Jessica called me directly. Ryan, we really need to talk. About what? Look, I'm sorry if I was difficult the other day. Wedding planning is just really stressful, you know? Okay. The thing is, we're having a tiny issue with our venue deposit. Derek's financial advisor says his investment money will be available Monday, but the venue wants payment tomorrow. Can you maybe help us out just for the weekend? How much? $14,000, but Derek will pay you back Monday, I promise. Jessica, that's not a small amount of money. I know, but it's literally just for 3 days. And this is my dream venue, Ryan. If we lose this date, we'll have to postpone the whole wedding. Have you considered maybe finding a less expensive venue? Are you kidding me? All our invitations have the venue name printed on them. Our engagement photos were taken there. I've been posting about it for months. So I can't just change venues now. What would people think? What would I tell everyone? There it was. The real issue wasn't about celebrating their love or starting their marriage. It was about maintaining the Instagram image, the appearance of success and luxury. Jessica, I can't loan you $14,000. Can't or won't? Both. She was quiet for a moment, then her voice turned cold. Fine, but don't expect me to save you a good seat at the wedding. You can sit in the back with Derek's weird cousins. And she hung up. I looked at my phone and realized I was actually smiling. Less than 24 hours to go. Saturday morning, I woke up early and made myself a big breakfast. Pancakes, bacon, eggs, the works. I was in an unusually good mood. Frank texted me around 10 a.m. Deadline is in 6 hours. Any last-minute payments from the happy couple? Nope. Complete radio silence? Perfect. I already talked to Raphael. He can sign a contract Monday morning if the date opens up. At 3 p.m., exactly 1 hour before the deadline, my phone started ringing constantly. Jessica, Derek, Jessica again. Unknown numbers, Jessica. I didn't answer any of them. At 3:47 p.m., Jessica left a voicemail. Ryan, I know you're screening my calls. Please call me back. This is a real emergency. At 3:52 p.m., Derek left a voicemail. Hey man, I don't know what kind of miscommunication happened here, but we really need your help. I can have your money back to you by Wednesday, I promise. At 3:58 p.m., Jessica texted, Ryan, please call me back right now. At exactly 4 p.m., I got a text from our venue manager. Richardson deposit deadline has passed. Date released per contract. Should I remove them from the system? I texted back, yes, remove them completely. At 4:03 p.m., my phone started ringing nonstop. I turned it off and went for a long drive around the city. When I got home around 7 p.m. and turned my phone back on, I had 23 missed calls and 16 text messages. Most were from Jessica, but there were several from Derek and even one from my mom. Jessica's text told quite a story. 4:05 p.m. Ryan, call me now. 4:23 p.m. This isn't funny anymore, call me back. 4:45 p.m. Derek says the venue canceled our booking. This is your fault. 5:12 p.m. How could you let this happen? 5:30 p.m. I know you're seeing these messages. 6:15 p.m. Fine, be a selfish jerk. See if I care. Derek's messages were more desperate. 4:38 p.m. Ryan, we need to talk ASAP. 5:22 p.m. Dude, please call me back. We can work something out. 6:02 p.m. The venue says our date was released. I don't understand what happened. The message from my mom just said, Ryan, Jessica is hysterical. Please call her. I made myself dinner and called Frank. So how does it feel to be free? He asked. Pretty amazing, actually. They left me about 20 messages. I bet. Our venue manager called me too. Apparently your sister showed up around 5 p.m. demanding to speak to the owner. No way. Yeah, she was yelling about how the cancellation was illegal and threatening to sue us. Our manager told her the owner wasn't available and she'd have to come back Monday. This keeps getting better. Oh, it gets better. I already called Raphael. He's coming in Monday morning to sign the contract for May 18th. Same date, full deposit up front. Sunday was completely quiet. No calls, no texts, which meant they were either giving up or planning their next move. Monday morning, I was at work when our venue manager called. Ryan, your sister is here. She brought her fiancé and they want to meet with you about rebooking their date. What did you tell them? That you weren't available today. But they're not leaving. They've been sitting in our lobby for 3 hours. How do they seem? Desperate. The girl keeps crying and the guy looks like he hasn't slept in days. Perfect. Tell them I'll be there in an hour. I drove to Sunset Manor slowly, wanting them to wait a little longer. When I walked into the lobby, Jessica and Derek were sitting on our couch looking absolutely terrible. Jessica's eyes were red and puffy, her hair was messy, and she was wearing sweatpants. Something I'd never seen her do in public. Derek looked even worse with wrinkled clothes, stubble, and dark circles under his eyes. They both jumped up when they saw me. Ryan! Jessica ran over like she was going to hug me, but I stepped back. What are you guys doing here? We need to talk to the owner about getting our date back, Derek said. There was some sort of mistake with our deposit. What kind of mistake? Jessica jumped in. They said our date was canceled because we missed some deadline, but that's impossible because Derek was handling all the payments. I looked at Derek. So you did make the deposit? His face turned red. Well, not exactly. There were some complications with my investment accounts. So you didn't pay. It's not that simple. Actually, it is that simple. You booked a date, you didn't pay the required deposit, so the date got released. That's how business contracts work. Jessica was getting agitated. Ryan, can you please just talk to the owner? Explain that there was a misunderstanding? I can try, but I doubt it'll help. They probably already gave your date to someone else. Derek stepped forward. Look, I can pay the deposit right now, plus a late fee if necessary. We just need the date back. You have $14,000 with you right now? Derek shifted uncomfortably. I can get it. From where? Your cryptocurrency gains? Before Derek could answer, Jessica interrupted. Ryan, please, can you just ask if they'll take our booking back? This is the most important thing in my life. I pretended to think about it. You know what? Let me see if the owner is available to discuss this. I walked back to the office where Frank was waiting with the biggest grin I'd ever seen. He'd been watching the whole conversation through our security system. They look even worse than I expected, he whispered. This is just the beginning. You ready for this? I was born ready, my friend. We walked back out to the lobby together. Jessica and Derek stood up expectantly. Jessica, Derek, I'd like you to meet Frank Martinez. He's the co-owner of Sunset Manor. Frank stepped forward with his most professional smile. So you're the couple who wants to rebook for May 18th? Yes, Jessica said desperately. There was just a misunderstanding about the deposit timeline. No misunderstanding, Frank interrupted. You had 30 days to pay. You didn't pay. Date got released. Pretty standard business practice. Derek tried to take control of the situation. Sir, I understand there were some issues with our payment timeline, but we're prepared to pay the full deposit now, plus any late fees you require. Frank looked at me, then back at Derek. The thing is, we already have another couple signed for that date. They paid their deposit this morning. Jessica started crying again. But this is my dream wedding. We sent out invitations. We've been planning for months. Should have paid your deposit, Frank said matter-of-factly. That's when Derek got aggressive. This is ridiculous. You can't just cancel people's weddings. Actually, we can. It's clearly stated in the contract you signed, which you would know if you'd bothered to read it. Jessica turned to me with complete desperation in her eyes. Ryan, please, you know people here. Can't you help us somehow? This was the moment I'd been waiting for. Jessica, didn't you tell me last week that you didn't want me in your wedding photos because I wasn't really there for you during this special time? Her face went completely white. I didn't mean, I was just stressed. And Derek, didn't you say I could help with the bar costs if I wanted to contribute something useful? Derek looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. Look, man, we were just what? Just planning to use me as your personal bank while treating me like I'm not good enough to be in your family photos? Ryan, please. Jessica was sobbing now. I'm sorry, okay? I was being horrible. But this is my wedding. I'll do anything to make this right. Anything? Yes. I'll pay you back every penny you've ever spent on me. I'll get a real job. I'll stop with the Instagram stuff. Whatever you want. I looked at Frank, who was clearly enjoying this more than he should be. Tell you what, I said. There might be a way to work something out. Jessica's eyes lit up with hope. Really? Yeah. See, Frank and I are business partners. We bought this place together about 18 months ago and completely renovated it. I watched as the reality of what I was saying slowly dawned on both of them. You own this place? Derek stammered. Co-own it, which means I knew about your booking from day one. I knew when you missed your deadline, and I knew when we gave your date to someone else this morning. Jessica looked like she might faint. Ryan, why didn't you tell me? Because you made it clear that you only valued me for my money. So I decided to see exactly how far you'd take that attitude. But you could have just reminded us about the deposit. I could have, but you told me I wasn't really there for you. Remember? So I decided to step back and let you handle everything yourselves. You wanted to treat me like a vendor instead of your brother. So that's exactly what I did. I treated you like customers. Customers who don't pay their bills. Derek was getting angry now. This is messed up, man. You sabotaged your own sister's wedding. I didn't sabotage anything. You failed to meet your contractual obligations. That's entirely on you. But you could have prevented this. Why should I? You both made it crystal clear that I wasn't welcome at your wedding, unless I paid for the privilege. You wanted to exclude me from family photos because I wouldn't give you $15,000. So I gave you exactly what you asked for. I removed myself from the situation entirely. Jessica was hyperventilating now. Ryan, please, I'm begging you. I'll do anything. I'll be the best sister ever. I'll never ask you for money again. Please just give us our date back. I looked at my sister, completely broken, and finally understanding that actions have consequences. Part of me did feel bad seeing her like this. But then I remembered 8 years of being treated like nothing more than a walking checkbook. Jessica, I said quietly, do you remember the last thing you said to me on the phone? I don't remember. You said not to expect any special treatment at your wedding. Well, congratulations. You're getting exactly what you asked for. No special treatment. You're being treated like any other client who doesn't pay their bills. She collapsed back onto the couch, completely defeated. Derek sat down next to her, staring at the floor. Is there anything we can do? Derek asked quietly. Any amount we can pay to fix this? Frank and I exchanged glances. Actually, Frank said, we do have one other date available. They both looked up with desperate hope. When? Jessica whispered. January 15th. This January? Next January? 14 months from now? But all our vendors, our invitations, our guests? Not our problem, I said. Take it or leave it. They sat in stunned silence for a full minute. Finally, Derek asked, how much would the deposit be? For January? $28,000. That's double what the May date cost. January is peak wedding season, Frank explained with a straight face. Higher demand, premium pricing. Jessica looked at me with complete desperation. Ryan, I know I messed up. I know I've been a terrible sister. Please, I'm begging you, help us one more time. I'll sign a contract. I'll give you collateral. Whatever you want. And looking at her sitting there, finally understanding how badly she damaged our relationship, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Jessica, you've been asking me for money for 8 years. You've never paid me back even once. You've never shown genuine appreciation for the sacrifices I've made for your dreams. And when I finally set a boundary, you tried to punish me by excluding me from your wedding photos. I was so wrong. I was selfish and horrible. Yes, you were. And now you get to live with the consequences of those choices. I turned to Frank. We should go. We have other appointments. As we walked toward the office, Jessica called after us. Ryan, wait. I'll give you anything. I'll sign over my car. I'll work for you for free. Please don't do this to me. But I didn't turn around. In the office, Frank was shaking his head in amazement. That was intense, brother. Think I was too harsh? Are you kidding? She had that coming for years. Maybe now she'll finally learn that other people aren't just there to fund her fantasies. 2 hours later, I got a text from Tyler. Heard about the venue situation from Jessica? She's pretty devastated, but honestly, I think you did the right thing. She needed a reality check. That evening, there was a knock on my door. It was Jessica, alone this time. She looked completely different. No makeup, wearing normal clothes, hair in a simple ponytail. Can we talk? She asked quietly. I let her in and we sat in my living room. Derek broke up with me, she said. I wasn't surprised, but I waited for her to continue. He said he couldn't handle the family drama and that he realized I was too high maintenance for him. She started tearing up. Ryan, I've lost everything. My fiancé, my wedding, my dream venue. And it's all because of my own actions. That's the first accurate thing you've said in years. I know you probably think I'm a terrible person. I don't think you're terrible, Jess. I think you lost sight of what actually matters. I did. I got so caught up in trying to look successful online that I forgot how to be a decent human being to the people who actually cared about me. She wiped her eyes. Can I ask you something? What? If I really change, like genuinely become a better person, is there any chance we can have a real relationship again? Not the money stuff, just being brother and sister? I looked at her for a long moment. She seemed genuinely remorseful for the first time in years. Jessica, I've been waiting almost a decade for you to grow up and realize that relationships are about more than what people can do for you financially. I know, and I'm going to prove that I can change. I already applied for jobs at 3 different companies. Real jobs, not this influencer nonsense. You don't have to prove anything to me. Just focus on becoming the person you want to be. We sat quietly for a few minutes. Ryan? Yeah, I really am sorry. For everything. You deserved so much better from me. And for the first time in years, she actually sounded like she meant it. 3 months later, Jessica got a job in marketing at a local company. She moved into a modest apartment, stopped posting constantly on social media, and started paying me back small amounts every month. Not because I asked her to, but because she insisted it was the right thing to do. Derek never tried to reconcile with her, and honestly, she seemed relieved about that.